Hello, Sewer. How are you? I'm so happy to be back in Lounge, coming to you live this lovely Saturday morning. The sun is shining. There is a pile of storm debris in front of my house, but I am so excited to be home and hanging out with you on this beautiful Saturday morning. If you are just joining me, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm so, I keep saying that, but I'm so glad to be home. I spent a week away because of the crazy hurricane that hit Houston on July 8th. We lost power at 7:30 in the morning, and it was not restored until Sunday, what was that, the 14th at 5 p.m. So Dan and I packed up the pets and we drove back that night and got in around 9 o'clock. And I still haven't finished unpacking or, getting the house rearranged. Since that time, we the refrigerator died. So we came back to a dead refrigerator. Apparently, the power surge took it out. It was 9.5 years old, so it was reaching its end of life anyway. But that just added a whole nother wrench in the whole thing. And then Monday, I finished at work late in the afternoon and found out that my car battery had died as well. So, it's been a little bit of a hectic week here in Houston, but things are settling out and I am happy about that. Nancy is joining us from Ohio. Hello, Nancy. I'm so glad you're here. Tony is up in the Dallas area. Yes, it is a beautiful day to chat about sewing. No rain in sight, so that is good. Ellen is watching from Maryland, gardening and watching your chickens. Happy to be with. I'm glad you're here. And it's so nice that you get to watch chickens. We're not allowed to have chickens in the city of Houston. Plus, Honey kind of has a thing for chickens, so probably better to not have them. Helena is watching from Charlotte. Hello. And Beth is watching from Ohio, but packing for North Carolina. Nice. I am glad to hear that. Thank you, ladies, for joining me this Saturday morning. There are no tech difficulties. I'm super excited to have I'm hardwired into the internet and, having some nice weather and got the lighting all going. So I am just super excited to be here. Dee Dee is watching from San Antonio. Hopefully you're having some nice weather there too, and it's not too hot, although y'all have more of a dry heat than we have here in Houston. So just as an update, I know last month I had talked about going to the International Quilt Festival in November. Tickets went on sale. I got caught up in court and I had them in my cart, and then I had to go talk to some police officers about my client's tickets. And I didn't get back to it until I think around 5 or 6 that evening. And almost all the classes I wanted to take had sold out. I signed up for the Serger class on Monday. So if you want to hang out at Quilt Fest and you're going to be coming into town, or you live relatively close and we're planning on attending, let me know. I am available in the afternoons. I am in courts in the morning, but I'd love to meet up with some of y'all. I'm going to be attending the actual Quilt Festival on Friday as soon as I finish at court, because usually I'm done by 10ish. So I was going to head over around then. So let me know. You can message me on Instagram, or you can always send me an email, hello@SoSoLounge. Let me know if you're going to be there. Now, let's see. A few more people have checked in. So let's see who's here. Brenda is coming in from Kentucky. Hey, Brenda. Aaliyah's in Santa Clara, California. So it's a little early for you. Thank you for joining us. Bonnie's in New Jersey. Hey, Bonnie. Judith is in Brenham, Texas. Judith, are you that close to me? Dee Dee said she just got back from a business trip to Corpus. Oh yeah, Corpus is hot. Well, I think it's probably about the same heat, but it's definitely more humid just because it's right on the water, and somehow here in Texas it's never pleasant along the water. So, oh, Judith, awesome. So you're really just down the road from me. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. So the thing I wanted to say though is that, okay, International Quilt Fest plans did not work out kind of as I'd hoped. And the only class I'm taking is using a serger, because I am not great at using a serger. I have a really nice baby lock, and all I do is finish seams. I got all these feet for it. So I decided I was going to pony up the money and um, learn how to use a serger once and for all. So I'm excited about that. But I decided, like, the Sewing and Quilting Expo in Dallas, and it's actually in Irvington, has a lot of sewing classes, and it's in August. So maybe I should just ask my boss if I can take off that Thursday and Friday and go. And he said yes. So I was super excited about that because I wasn't thinking he was going to let me take that time off, but he was very generous and said yes. And so I am going to be attending that expo. If you are up in the Dallas area and want to pop by or meet up, that would be super fun. I am taking a bunch of classes. I did put them all in the description. So if you want to join me for some of the classes, that would be even more fun. We could hang out together while we're learning sewing techniques and stuff. And my sister is actually going to be going too, but she will be taking quilting themed classes. And she's only taking like one a day. She's like, I'm not going crazy like you are. And I'm like, well, I like to try and learn as much as I possibly can. And then I can share it all with you if you can't go. Now, the funny thing is, I have a couple of friends and they've been to the Sewing Expo in Florida. And I looked online to see if anybody had made any YouTube videos about the one in the Dallas Irvington area. And no, there's nothing. So I'll probably be making a video about that as well to share with y'all so you can kind of get the experience if you're interested in going. Dallas is like 4 hours from here. I also have one in New Orleans, but that one was in March, so I missed it. So I'm kind of like, oh, I could go to either of those because it's about the same distance each way. And, I definitely like New Orleans better than Dallas, but I go up to Irvington for a YouTube conference in September. So I'm familiar with the area and it's a fun area to be in as well. So let's see, we got Jolita. Hey, Jolita, joining us from Tucson, and Linda. Hey, Linda. Donna from Sauk Rapids, Minnesota. Ooh, hopefully you're having some nice summer weather. I would assume so, since you're so far north. So anyway, if you are going to go or interested in going, the registration is through the 27th of July. I think that's what Anna told me. She stole my brochure, so I don't have it. But the email, if you want to check it out, or their website is sewingexpo.com. It is a variety of sewing and quilting and then other types of classes. I know that they had some bag making classes. They have using like vinyl. I don't know what that's for. And then, serger classes. Two of the classes I'm taking that are actually hands-on make something classes. One of them is a rolled edge kimono using a serger, and the other is leggings, which I'm super excited about because I've never made any kind of athleisure because I think it's kind of scary. So I'm super excited about that one. But this is the email. Y'all can go, the website, you can go check it out. You can register on there. The more classes you take, the cheaper the prices get. It's I added 2 classes and the price went down by $50 total. So let me know if you do decide to go, and we will work it and figure it out. Linda, you're in Houston. I didn't know that. It's so nice that you are here. Maybe we can grab a coffee sometime. That would be super fun. And Donna says the weather's nice. You're so lucky, Donna. And then we've got Diane from Wharton. Oh, you're just down the road. I'm on 59. I'm in Sharpstown. So you're literally just hop on 59 and drive to Wharton. My office manager's daughter actually lives in Wharton. So I've driven through Wharton to get out to Matagorda Beach. So I didn't realize so many of you were here in the Texas area. So yeah, let me know if you're going to Quilt Fest, and let me know if you want to go to if you're going to go to the Sewing Expo, because I would love to meet up in person. Oh, that's so funny. So Linda and Donna are sisters. You can come hang out with me and my sister. So I don't know if she's going to be able to take off and go to Quilt Fest, just because she will be starting a new job in August, and I don't know if she'll be able to take the Friday off, but we'll see. We might go back Saturday. Dee Dee, daughter, and I will be there. I'll check your schedule, see if we have any of the same class. Oh, that'll be so much fun. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't mention it in the last live stream because I wasn't sure if I'd get the time off. And then when I was so bummed for not getting into those classes here at the Quilt Fest that I was like telling Dan, and I was just like, I just can't believe I did that. I just can't believe I was so stupid. And he's like, babe, you were working. Like, give yourself a break. Like, seriously. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask Paul and see if I can get those days off and go in August and get into the classes. And I got into like every class I wanted. So anyway, let's see. Ellen says she feels moved out. Must move to Texas. Yes, Ellen, come to Texas. Although we have hurricanes and big giant mosquitoes right now, so it's not ideal. Yeah, I like to take classes that will improve my skills. So some of the classes I'm taking, I'm going to flip to my little journal here because I like literally had to put everything into my planner so I could keep track of what I was doing. So some of the classes that I'm taking that I think would really be very helpful to things I do on this channel, or one of them is called Bodice Architecture, Mastering Pattern Alteration. So that's like an hour-long lecture. So I'm looking forward to that. The same woman is doing another lecture that's on Friday. On Saturday, that's called There's More to Sleeves Than Meets the Eye, and it's about adjusting the arm's eye to fit you well, and maybe perhaps for some design features as well. I'm not sure. And then I'm doing a pants class on Thursday because y'all know I'm not good at pants. I don't make them. And the last pair I made were too big, and Anna got a brand new pair of black linen pants. So that is that, yeah. Doing pants. So interestingly enough, there's another YouTuber, Lindsay Johns. Her channel is Inside the Hem. I don't know if any of you have checked that out or not. I don't know her, but she's teaching a bunch of classes. So I figured I'd take one with her and just see what it's all about. It's called It's Easy with the Fast and Fit worksheet. It's like how to measure yourself and measure the patterns to be able to figure out how they fit, which based on my last video, I was having a few problems with. So I figured that would be good information. Also great to pass on to you. Donna, I don't think that the classes are online, but you can register online to go up there. Unfortunately, like most of these sewing and quilting type events are all live. There's no tech associated with them, which is kind of a shame because it would be nice to be able to, pop in as part of like a live stream or a Zoom or something. But unfortunately, I don't think that they just have those capabilities. The funny thing is that the convention center that the Sewing Expo is at is the exact same one that I go to for YouTube. I was there last October for a YouTube conference. So I know they do have projectors and screens and they do have the capability to record, because for my YouTube, conference, they record everything and then you can go back and watch it later. But I don't know that they'd be doing that for this event. So I'm not sure, but I'll find out, and you never know. But like I said, I'm happy to share the information that I learn with y'all, and then kind of, share the info, because for me, I am always trying to sew better. I'm not perfect, as evidenced by my Jiffy dress video. That was kind of funny. I mean, it's funny because the dress was so basic and I just messed it up so bad. And also due partially to the fact that I just got the sizing wrong, and I think I added too much seam allowance, and then I didn't judiciously add seam allowance. Like, I probably just could have added a little bit and given myself a tiny bit more ease, but like why I put it in the shoulder seams, I have no idea. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But you learn from your mistakes. And anyway, that's kind of where we are. So Beth is saying that the Expo vendors want you and your wallet in person. Yes, for sure. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of these vendors don't have like websites, or if they do, like, they're hard to use. I've never been to the Sewing Expo, obviously, but I have been to the Quilt Fest a few times here in Houston. And there's a lady who sells buttons, and they are like the most amazing buttons. And I think I've shown them in my past video when I went to the Quilt Fest and made a video about that. I have a problem with buttons. As I've mentioned, I love buttons, and I've spent way too much money at her button booth. So it's really great that she does not have an online presence where I could just go peruse her stash and buy them, because like I'm limited to being able to purchase buttons once a year. And I did buy more last year. And Anna was with me and she's like, "You don't need any more buttons. You already spent $100 on buttons last year and you still haven't used them." And I'm like, "But they're so pretty." So it's good that she doesn't. I mean, I know that some of the other vendors like Kimono Momo has beautiful Japanese fabrics and they're like, "Oh, you can buy them from us online." And I'm like, "But I don't want back quarters. Like I want like 3 yards." So it's not really kind of set up for apparel type sewing. And yeah, they do want you there. Like I said, two of my friends have been to the one in Florida. They kind of had mixed reviews. My friend Madi, her channel is Madi Sews, and she's the mastermind behind Project Dress a Girl. If you've heard of that or if you've been involved with that, she is. We've recently gotten to be friends, and so she went more as a participant with a bunch of other YouTubers in the Florida area, and she said it was really fun to meet people, especially her viewers and stuff like that. But she wasn't really impressed by the classes. And then my other friend Sue, who is her channel is Sookie Sews, she has been there as a vendor and a teacher, so she kind of had a different perspective. But you know, they said go check it out. Let us know how the one in Texas is, because neither of them had been to that one either. So we'll see. We'll see. It might not be something I go back to, or and maybe something that one day I will teach at. I don't know. I'm kind of leaving the options open, and we'll see how things go. And you know, we'll just see. We'll see. And you know, if that's something y'all would be interested in, let me know. Like, oh yeah, hey, if you taught a class or you taught a series of classes, we totally want to go. Lindsay's like teaching a bunch of classes. Like she's teaching like all morning, all 3 days. So, like I said, I've seen a few of her videos. I know that she has a different background than mine. Her background's in journalism, whereas mine's in textile and apparel design. And she kind of has a different style than I do. So we'll see. You know, I don't think most of her videos are really kind of like teachy videos like some of mine are. So we'll see. But I think it'll be fun. Looking forward to it. Plus, it's 2 days I don't have to go to court. So always winning there. And my sister is going. So it's kind of, we get to take a road trip up there and a road trip back and have some time together before she goes back and starts her job at the end of August. And so it'll be fun. Anyone have any comments before we get started on today's topic, which, so the title of this live stream was Express Yourself, Define and Sew Your Style. And yes, I was thinking of the Madonna song because I'm a Gen Xer and that video was very, very popular when I was in, what was that, Blonde Ambition? I guess I was in high school at that point. So yes, I was kind of thinking about that, and the lyrics were kind of running through my head as I was sending out the email about this live stream, because I think that it's really important to kind of look at what the image you want to project, and then figure out like, how can I make this happen through my sewing? Now, I have a lot of different clothing personas, for lack of a better word, and you know, my mom calls them my outfits. I was reading this Fashion Sewing by the Bishop Method, which is kind of archaic in their ideas of fashion and their rules for fashion, which I will be sharing a little bit later. But the thing that I really like this is that they referred to your outfits as costumes. So that resonated with me because I am a very costume oriented person. I love costumes. I think of what I put on to go to court every day as my lawyer costume, because I am in a suit and heels, and you know, it's a very specific look. Whereas I would say that my general everyday style is very, you know, t-shirt and jeans casual when I'm just hanging out. And, you know, a lot of people have commented on me wearing black t-shirts and jeans in all my videos and be like, well, you should wear what you make. And I'm like, look, I got a lot to deal with when I make a video, including lighting and sound and planning off the whole video and getting everything together. And the last thing I want to think about is what I have to wear. Plus, I make a lot of dresses and I don't want to wear a dress when I make a video. And third point, I use a lot of printed fabrics and a lot of colors in my videos, and I do not want to clash with whatever project I'm working on. So, black t-shirt is the way to go. And one day I will make a black t-shirt that is me made, but until that time, I'm going to stick with either my black t-shirts that have things printed on them, which I like to wear for the live streams, or my Banana Republic classic black tee that is perfect for all occasions. So, that is my brief rant. You thought long and hard about your look and how you can incorporate your personal style into your sewing projects, because that's something I think of a lot. And if you've been watching my videos for more than a minute, you can very quickly recognize that I love color and I love prints, and I love mixing colorful prints because that's just me. Now, that's not everybody's style. And today we're going to be talking about how you can figure out your style if you haven't already, and then how you can incorporate that into your sewing projects so that what you make is actually a me made wardrobe that is very specific to you and the image you want to put out into the world. And one of the things we're going to be talking about are these archaic, vintage dressing rules, but then also some of my other books had some good points of things to consider and think of as you are planning and as you are trying to figure out, what's your style and how you want it to look going forward. So, I'm Tony. If you're new and just joining me here for the first time, this is So Lounge, and I think we're going to start with some vintage style tips because these are really funny. Reading through these, and the Bishop method of sewing was developed in the 50s, I believe, as a way to teach primarily young women in home economics how to sew. And so, with that in mind, this is very dated information. The copyright on this book is 1962. And it starts out by saying, being well dressed is one of the finest arts in the world, and there are many things to know and learn in developing this art in ourselves. So they're very, very serious about this. And they talk about taste and how people have different taste. And, you can go to an art museum and be told what is tasteful and what is distasteful, which I find really, really funny. And it's like, here's a note to say. Then if taste is what you choose, style is how you wear it. Together they make elegance in you. No amount of wealth can buy. It takes self-respect, self-discipline, and good sense of values. Some people have said that style results more from the way one's clothes are worn than from the clothes themselves. It is an elegance which reflects the individual personality and vitality. These things are important because your appearance is the way you present yourself to the world. So then it goes on to talk about, analyzing how many sides of your life and there are, and then the different types of clothing. So keep in mind, this is 1962. There's not a lot of women in the workforce at that point. Women are starting to enter the workforce, but it's not like a huge thing. So, and it says like home, business, sports, social life, travel, and many others. So they go on to talk about starting this whole process by reviewing what's in your closet, which I do agree with, because I think that if you go and take the time to look at what is in your closet and pull out those pieces that you wear more than anything else, because I think we all have these things that we gravitate to because we love them, either because they make us feel great or they're comfortable or they project the image that we want them to have. Or it could be a combination of all three of those things. Because I know that there's certain things in my closet that I'm like, yes, I'm going to wear this, I'm going to wear this, I'm going to wear this, and I'm good to go. So that's one place to start. If you're like, I don't know what my style is. How do I express this? How do I figure this out? Start there. It's definitely the easiest way to go. And it's going to kind of guide you through, the whole process. So then we'll switch over to my Butterick. This is Ready, Set, Sew. This is a Butterick sewing book. Let's see what the date is on this one. I think this one's around the same time, but it's not quite as snarky, for lack of a better word. Oh, no, this is 71. So this is about, almost 10 years later, and it's a little bit more design oriented. So, what they talk about in this book is using different elements of design to inform how you want to dress and what style you want to have. So, it starts out with color, goes into line, goes into proportion and balance, print, and texture. And so color is a huge thing for me because I think that if you feel good in a color, you probably look good in a color. And the other thing about color that is very convenient is that if you like certain colors and you consistently buy certain colors, everything you own will match because you're not throwing in these random, chartreuse green, mustard yellow. These are not colors I can wear. I do not look good in them. They make my skin tone look very yellow, and I actually kind of look jaundiced. Um, Maybe not quite that bad, but that's what my mother tells me. So I don't like these colors either. On the flip side, these colors look fantastic on my sister, but she has more of a porcelain complexion, and I have an olive tone complexion. So, you know, I generally feel like though, if you look good in things, you and you like them, it's probably a good color for you. And, looking at my palette of colors of everything I have over here, there's a lot of pinks, there's a lot of purples, there's a lot of blues, there's greens. You're not going to see any yellow over there. And if you do, or like this brown one back here, that's honest fabric. That's not my fabric. I just don't tend to wear those colors. And if I wear a print that has those colors in it, it's going to be heavy and like the blues and the purples, because those are colors that I love. Um, and that's what works. Now, the beauty of that is when you start sewing, if you have a stash of fabric that you've been collecting, like I have, everything is going to always work together. I mean, and same with accessories and jewelry and all that. If you gravitate to all the same colors, it all works together. So that's an easy way to kind of look at your personal style and say, like, well, what colors do I like? What do I tend to wear a lot? I'm more of a silver person or a gold person, and that sort of thing, because that will help you come up with a plan, and it helps with fabric buying, honestly. That you can never go wrong if it's a fabric that has colors that you love, because even if you don't have a plan for it immediately, one day you will, and then you'll use it. So that is my color related tip for that. Moving on, they talk about line, and they do have some fun little drawings here. So let me show you those. They talk about vertical lines. They talk about horizontal lines here. And then these are actual like interesting style lines in the actual garment design. So that's something else to consider is, do you like stripes? Do they look good on you? Horizontal stripes are going to always make you look a little bit wider. Vertical stripes are going to always make you look taller. So if you use the placement of those elements as part of your fabric in the design process, it's going to make a difference in how you look and how you want to look. Now, Anna loves a chevron stripe. So you've got the line down the center front of like a knit top, and then the stripes all chevron in the middle. She's like, that's my favorite look. She's like, it makes my waist look small. It makes my bust look big. And she's like, it's very flattering with a V-neck. She's like, it's perfect. And she has a ton of shirts that are in that style because that works for her, and it accentuates her upper body, which she likes better than her lower body, which she's, wants to minimize. So if she's wearing black jeans, but then she has on a chevron type top, she's like, it emphasizes the top, minimizes the bottom. And that's what makes her feel confident. Now for me, I don't love waists and belts and that kind of stuff because I generally feel like all the natural waist stuff is not comfortable for me. So I would never wear anything that looks like this ever. That would make me super uncomfortable. And then add in this yoke at the top and then the cuffs on the sleeves. Like for me personally, that is a horrible look. And not only does it look very juvenile to me, but it's too many horizontal lines and it's cutting me at the wrong places. I am not tall. I am 5'5". I would always like to look taller. And so I like things that elongate. If I'm going to wear a dress, it's going to be more of an A-line dress. So it's going to pull the proportions down, make me look a little longer. I like to wear dresses that are all about knee length because if you put on a platform shoe with a knee length skirt, you're going to look taller. And, that's always a good thing. So it's really just kind of figuring out what works for you and taking these different um, elements of design into account so that you can, use them to your advantage and understand them and understand how they work. Now, I do love a good style line. So if I can find a pattern that has a really cool style line or something that's already ready to wear, like I have some suits that have some very interesting style lines on them. And I love them because it's unexpected. It's a suit. You think that's going to be very classic and kind of on the boring side. So style lines are another way to bump up an otherwise not super exciting garment. Word to the wise, if you're using a lot of print, you probably don't want to use something with a lot of style lines. And I have mentioned this in various projects because for me personally, if the print is not matched up on that style line, it's going to drive me crazy. And so that's a personal thing, but it may be something that would bother you too. So just keep that in mind. And when I'm using a lot of prints in my designs, I usually keep the style lines to a minimum. I do not want to have to cut and match fabric if I don't have to, because it just makes it more complicated. That's why I like, bust darts and center front darts, because you're just very gently pulling in the fabric. You can kind of keep the design lined up the way it's supposed to be. And it's not like cutting things with all these different style lines. So something else to consider depending on what your preference is. Now, if you like solid colors, style lines are a fantastic way to add interest to an otherwise very standard looking garment. And I do have a black linen dress that is a grain line studio pattern. It has a very interesting like stitch line with like pockets in the seam, and there's a seam up the front. And it's very classic looking dress, but those design lines and those style lines are what make it very interesting, even though it's just black linen, which is, a thing to consider when you're designing and when you're choosing fabric and patterns that you want to reflect your personal style. Now, one thing I haven't said yet is that So Lounge is all about helping you figure out your style and then figure out how to sew it. That's something that has always been near and dear to my heart, is not just sewing to feel better, but sewing to get back to that feeling that you had when you dressed the way you wanted to, when you didn't have to go to work or you didn't have to go to PTA meetings or you didn't have these obligations. Like back when you were in college and you started sewing, or maybe wanted to start sewing, and you had a little bit more freedom in your design style and what you were doing, and you were learning who you were and how to express yourself. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to that feeling of freedom and style freedom, where you weren't labeled like, oh, she's a mom, she shouldn't wear that, or she's over 50, she shouldn't wear that. I don't believe in that. I think if it looks good on you and it makes you feel good, you should wear it. So let's pop over to some of those tips from the Bishop method of fashion sewing and why we're not going to listen to them, because not only are some of them a little bit offensive, they're stupid. So the most offensive thing that I read in this book that I have to share with you, because I was just like, wow, things have really changed, is remember that a man's point of view about clothes is concerned with how pleasing a picture you will make. He will look at the whole ensemble rather than its separate parts. And I'm thinking, I don't think I've ever dressed for a man one day in my life, because that's not me. I'm going to wear what makes me feel good, not what some man wants to look at, especially since most men just kind of look at you as a whole and are like, is she pretty? Do I like her? Do I want to go out with her? That's kind of it. Like, they're not thinking about, oh, she's got those white shoes on after Labor Day. Can't go out with her. I mean, it's a little crazy that that was even a consideration back then. Um, and then, this is back when they wore hats and gloves and matching shoes and handbags. So it's really not relevant to today's society. The other thing that I think is hysterical in here is the word functional has dictated much in American fashion, but too often it has been interpreted to mean casual, and casual often becomes too casual. One example is the number of tourists who visit our nation's capital in shorts and slacks. Compliment a public building by your choice of clothes, for you have already learned that your appearance is the way you present yourself to the world. It is not alone just what you wear, but where you wear it. And then it continues because that wasn't quite enough. Do not appear on city streets in flat shoes, headscarves, huge skirts, strapless dresses, or with your hair in pin curls. Ladylike may be the nicest adjective you can merit. Well, thankfully, those days are long gone. And the thought of going sightseeing on vacation to New York City in a dress and heels is just so hysterical to me. And I'm sure you're laughing too, because it's just crazy. And then they've got a little picture over here, which I got to show you the little picture of the Statue of Liberty. Let me get it straight and move it in a little bit closer. There we go. So you see the Statue of Liberty and these little ladies, and they're wearing flats. Like, I wouldn't say these ladies look frumpy by today's standards at all. And yet they're being chastised for not wearing, you know, pumps and a dress to go to the Statue. Can you imagine having to walk around New York City as a tourist in heels? Like, I wear heels to court every day and I run around a lot. And by the time I'm done, my feet hurt. And I wear good quality leather shoes. They are sensible heels. They're like 2.5-inch heels. And I'm tired. I cannot imagine pounding the pavement. I mean, let's just say we're going fabric shopping in the garment district, because I've done that in New York, in heels. I was wearing some super cute white sneaks and my feet were still tired because I was on them for so long. So, that's the old way of dressing. I think you should wear what makes you feel good and what you feel flatters your body at whatever point in your life you're at. That's my take. If you're comfortable, if you feel polished, if you feel, confident, those are the most important things to consider. Okay, so let's see. Brenda agrees she likes my bright colors. I do too. I think if you watch my channel, inherently you must appreciate bright colors because I only use color. I've watched some other channels and, they use a lot of neutrals and like pastels. And I'm just like I can't watch those channels. I need to be excited by fabric. And if I'm going to watch sewing, I want to see some beautiful fabric that I'm like, ooh, I could see myself sewing that. Let's see. Ellen says, I like using costume and I have things for work, from home, online meetings, school events, going out with friends. I think garden party is a costume genre I want to get to. You know what? I am so there with you, Ellen. I want a garden party outfit too. I want a garden party costume. I do have many costumes that I wear in my life. I have my lawyer costume, which is Monday through Friday. But I still inject like a ton of color into that because I wear scarves and then I like, colorful accessories or, jewelry, colorful jewelry. And then I also like to, give a pop of color with my shoes if I don't have to run around too much because those shoes are a little bit tight. I've got some great patent leather Karl Lagerfeld pumps, and I've got them in turquoise, hot pink, and orange. And they are just so fun to just throw on. Like, if there's a little bit of orange in my scarf, I might wear the orange ones. I did that last week and regretted it because I had to run around so much. But it's one of those things. I also have my cowgirl costumes that I wear during rodeo season. I'm wearing them more often now that we have a place out in West Texas. I'm going to be making some honeymoon costumes that will also be, boho cowgirl chic kind of looks. So I've always thought of it as being like, different eras and different times. I have my you know, girl next door super cash costume, which is my t-shirts and jeans. And then, I like to get dressed up and, have my opera costumes or theater costumes when I go out with my sister and or go to the symphony with Dan. And I think that costume really kind of I think it opens up more possibilities and it gets you thinking more creatively than if you just said outfit or, the word that I tend to use a lot because that's what we used in college is garment. Garment, not exciting. Costume, oh, the possibilities. They're endless. Brenda says, in the 60s, I can remember having gloves and a hat on Easter and dressing during the Christmas holidays. Sometimes I miss it. Now, don't get me wrong. I love getting dressed up. I love a Christmas party and I am going to, blow out that outfit in any way that I can because I really do love getting dressed up. And I wish we did more of it. I feel like in this post-pandemic world, people just don't want to get dressed up anymore. And I mean, I can't blame a lot of people because if you had to wear, suits and ties to work every day, and I mean, I wear a suit to work every day. I still do that, but for different reasons, which I'll explain in a minute. And being able to work from home suddenly, where you only have to get dressed from like the waist up, would probably just be a very welcome relief. And, not having to, put on this whole outfit and then go and spend all day in it, and sit in an office basically. For me, I wear suits because of the authority that a suit brings to court. I have found that I have some difficult clients who are foreigners. A lot of men who are from the Middle East and the India, Pakistan region do not like being told what to do by a woman. And if I am not wearing a suit and I'm not wearing heels, they will listen to me even less. So I learned that pretty early on when I was started out in this, type of law, doing traffic law and being in court and dealing with a multitude of clients every day. In certain instances, that suit is my authority. And so that's why I have my lawyer costume. And that's why I have so many suits is because I'm wearing one every single day. And I need to project that look and that authority to my clients for them to listen to me. And some days they still don't listen to me. I'm not pretending like that's the be all end all, but the lawyer costume is also when I put it on, it's like my armor for the day. It's like I'm getting into the mindset. I am the lawyer. I am representing you. I'm going to help you with your problems as best as I can. That's the caveat, right? And this is how I will project my image. But then when I come home, like as soon as I come home, I take that off. I take off those heels, I hang up my suit, and I'm like, I'm putting on a t-shirt and some yoga pants because I'm going to be hanging out at home the rest of the afternoon. But if I go out to meet friends, and this is something that started with my friend Jen, we dress up to have dinner together, even at each other's houses. And it's kind of a challenge because like Dan's pretty good about, dressing up, even though we're not leaving the house. She has a little bit more of her challenge with her husband because he's very much a t-shirt and shorts kind of guy, but he puts on a nice t-shirt. But we have such a good time doing that I've kind of transferred that whole idea of dressing up even when I go to friends' houses because it's more fun. I mean, like it feels more festive. It feels like more of a dinner party when everybody gets dressed up, even if you're not going anywhere. So that is me. That is my take on that. I do think that as a whole, society has gotten a lot more casual. I occasionally have clients who will show up in pajamas and house slippers and think they can come to court like that. I actually had one client who hadn't even brushed her hair. She wasn't wearing a bra. And the judge was like, you're not coming in the courtroom. Like you're not dressed appropriately. You are not allowed in the courtroom. And so then she was like, well, I don't understand why I can't go in. You literally rolled out of bed to come here. You can't just come to court like that. Like there is a standard of dress at court. And I think that the fact that, I mean, and she was young, she was probably like 19, but still no, it's court. It's still court. It may not be like, federal court. It's just municipal court, but you have to dress appropriately. So I think that there's this thing like people think they can wear whatever they want and go super, super casual, which I'm not a fan of and I don't advocate. So when I'm talking about style and personal style, I think you need to have some self-respect as part of that and thinking like I need to brush my hair and wash my face and put on clothes that are outside the house clothes to go somewhere. So that's that's me. But I do stand by that. I mean, I really think that it's gotten a little too casual in the last few years, especially post pandemic. But that's just me. Let's see. Wow. Downtown Houston, I have had to look twice to make sure a lady was wearing clothes. I've done that too. I can't remember, I was at some like shopping center and there was a girl and I was like, oh my gosh, she's naked. No, she wasn't. She was wearing a like a sport bra and some leggings that were the exact same color as her skin, and they were also skin tight. So, you know, imagine my confusion. But I literally had it's like, yeah. So I'm there with you, Linda. I've seen that too. Hello, Feral Farm Girl. Thank you for joining us. Um, Donna, what did law school tell you about dressing? Law school really did not say very much about that. Um, but for the most part, if you are in certain types of courts, everybody is wearing suits. So at municipal court, which is definitely kind of the more casual, easygoing type court, all of the men are all in suits and ties. I am one of the women that wears suits. There are a few of us. It's not a whole lot, but we always wear suits. There are a couple of women that'll wear like, a jacket with slacks or a jacket over a dress. I'm not in that camp. I do not think you look like a lawyer, but you know what? You don't work at my firm, so I'm not going to say anything about it. Family law court is where I have seen some of the craziest outfits by lawyers that were not suits. So apparently they just feel like you could go however. I mean, but family law clients are also a little bit crazy. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. There was one lawyer that I remember, and she was kind of older. She always had her hair in a braid with a big bow at the bottom of it, like kind of one of those 80s style bows, those real flat ones. And she always had on sneakers, which I just thought was crazy. And she'd be wearing like a jean set. So it would be like jeans with a matching jean jacket. And that's how she always came to court. And I was just like, how is that okay? Like, I guess technically it could be a suit in that the jeans match the jacket and that they're all pink, but it really didn't read professional to me. So yeah, that's kind of where that is. Ellen says, "High tea costume." Yes, I do have a tea dress. There's a fascinating thing. I picked up a Love Sewing magazine when I was in London, and it's all about the history of the tea dress and the specific style of dress you wear when you have tea in England. So hopefully I'll be able to go back with Anna and visit our friends in the next year or so. And the plan was for us to make tea dresses to go wear to tea when we go. So I like that too. Let's see. I doubt your cats respect your lawyer costume. Probably love the yoga pants. Yes, you know how cats are. They just don't care. They just, although my cat does think it's her mission in life to sit on my suit when I lay it out on the bed right before I put it on. Like she'll be nowhere to be found. I put my suit on the bed. I, walk in the bathroom to brush my teeth and walk out, and she's on my suit. And inevitably, it's one of the black ones. And I'm like, my cat's tabby and white. So yeah, no respect. Donna says, it represents understanding of seriousness of the men. Hopefully respect for the authority held by the judge. Yes. And I think that the judge in this instance he's very strict on dressing appropriately. Like if your skirt's too short, you're not coming in. If you're wearing shorts, well, shorts is for everybody. You're not coming in. And not only that, you have to go change before you can get a dismissal. So he has some different strict rules, but most of the judges, and like in civil court or criminal court, like you would never go to court not wearing a suit as a lawyer. So, Feral Farm Girl, putting down, I've done that too. I've been tired and sewing and like, why isn't this working? I'm like, oh, because the presser foot's not down. It happens. How about a tea dress sew along? Yes, that is a great plan, Gail. We will get that on the schedule. I did just plan out all of my content through November, so it might be a spring of 25 project, just because tea dresses kind of scream summery to me, or spring summer. But that is a fantastic idea. I do like that. And then I'll talk a little bit more about the history of the tea dress because it's actually very, very interesting. And, being on this side of the pond, we don't really have any experience with that sort of thing, but it's a very specific design style, and there's certain elements to it, and they do give a bunch of patterns that you can check out. So we'll look at that. We'll maybe start planning it towards the end of this year, and it is a it'll be a thing. We'll make it happen. Girl Farm Girl says, "What's a tea dress?" It sounds pretty. It's kind of a 40s style dress, but the more modern takes on it, or like knee length, kind of maybe have like slightly belted or have like a tie around the waist. They usually have like some kind of like a neckline or collar detail. They're like usually a soft fabric, like like you could use lawn, you could use a challis, you could use like a crepe to give you this softer kind of look. But we'll talk about that. Judith said yes, tea dress sew along. Okay, we will do that at some point in the future. Planning out my content through November. The reason I'm doing this is because I will be gone the first week of, like the first Thursday and Friday of August, and then I'm gone the whole first week of September because that is my YouTube conference. And I like to go a little early, hang out with my friends, and then we all go to this conference together. And then I'm getting married in October. I'm getting married the 12th of October, if you have not heard that news yet. And going on my honeymoon the 16th through the 27th of October. So it's going to be hectic. And so I'm like, let me plan out the videos between now and then, and get moving forward as far as that goes. And then I have an idea in my head of where we're going to go with all of this, because I know the time is going to start flying. Thank you, Judith, for the congratulations. Yeah, I did start working on the pattern for my wedding dress last weekend. So I got the paper pattern transferred to the Pellon fabric that I'm using as the base instead of actual paper, because I do not want to mess with the paper pattern since it is out of print. I don't want to change anything on that or cut it out. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So I did all of that. So I need to get that I need to cut that out and cut it out off the Pellon, and then cut it out in muslin, and then sew it up. And then we will have grandma come over and help me with the fitting and get all that filmed. And that video, I believe, is going to be coming out in end of July or beginning of August. It's a process. So it's like, I have like all these notes about like all the things I have to do. So Diane says, congratulations as well. Linda says, have you made toppers to make your wardrobe extend? I do not know what you mean by toppers exactly. So please elaborate in the comments and let me know. I wear scarves because a lot of what I wear, like, it's like a scoop neck, and I drive, and I don't want this part of my neck getting cooked in the car because I drive into the sun. Feral Farm Girl says, is it hard to find patterns nowadays? I always snap them up when I find them secondhand. It depends. That's what I would say. Lately, my local Joann's has had none of the patterns that I went to go look for, and they have had good sales on simplicity.com on, either they rotate. So you'll have like Simplicity and McCall's patterns will be on sale at the same time, but not Butterick. But then you'll have Butterick and Vogue patterns, and then New Look kind of has their own schedule. So if you kind of keep up with the sales and get on their mailing list, they usually have sales pretty regularly. So lately, that's what I've been doing. Is I have a list of patterns, because like I'll go through the book at Joann's, but then I don't know what's going on at my local store. It's like the locusts have come through, or patterns aren't even there, like the numbers aren't even in the box. So I don't know. I do also order some indie patterns from time to time. One of them is actually a tea dress from Sew House 7. So that might be a consideration, or, we might have a vote on it to see um, which one y'all like the best and which one is easy for everyone to get. Um, Pearl Farmers, I grabbed the vintage ones for sure. I have a ton of vintage patterns I inherited from my grandma. So most of those have all been used because she made things for my mom and my aunt and for herself. And so they're not in the best shape because they were, left in a closet in Louisiana, and between the just the humidity and stuff, they're very fragile. I do have a bunch of what is now vintage patterns from the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s that I got from my friend Paul. His mom was cleaning out her sewing room because she was downsizing and moving into a smaller house. And she apparently liked to buy patterns, but didn't actually do a lot of clothing sewing, because I must have about 6 of those, pattern boxes, maybe more. I've lost track, that have never been cut, never been used patterns. So I have a bunch of those. Let's see. So Dr. Blonde Girl says, I found the same patterns with the Joann's and Katie. What's happening? I don't know what's happening. The store here in Meyerland is supposed to be one of the big flagship stores. Like, they closed the one over on Westland because it was smaller, and then they've moved over to that. And I don't find that they have. I mean, they have more quilting fabric than they used to have. I don't know that they necessarily have a lot more apparel fabric, but then the pattern selection has just gone down the tubes. I mean, most of the time I can't find what I want. So I don't know if it's the same. I think pretty sure it's the same manager for all the stores in Houston, but I don't know what's going on either. So I feel your pain. Maria says, do the big 4 patterns have the same blockers? They do not. Every company has their own block. The sizing is similar as far as what the measurements are on the envelopes, but the ease in the actual pattern varies a lot between the different brands. I think that's historical because all of these companies used to be separate brands, and then they have since all merged into, big 4, even though I guess technically it's 5 if you count Butterick, New Look, Simplicity, McCall's, and Vogue. Because New Look got kind of lumped in there. I think Simplicity bought them out. Then, it's, I have found that Butterick does not fit me as well. It tends to be bigger, based on the 2 Butterick patterns I've previously made, which makes me nervous because my wedding dress pattern is also a Butterick pattern. So that's one reason I'm really taking the time to get the fit right in the muslin, because I don't want it to be too big at the top because it's a Butterick pattern and they just tend to have more ease. For me personally, I find that Simplicity and McCall's have more similar sizing for their blocks, because I can usually just wear whatever the size is and it fits fine. Butterick has been, and then Vogue varies a lot between the individual designer. And if it's a designer pattern, or if it's like a very easy Vogue or a Vogue Elements pattern, or all those different other considerations. So, there's a lot. That's why I'm excited about taking the It's Easy with the Fast Fit worksheet class, which is apparently the measuring and figuring out the pattern sizing. So I think that's going to be very helpful and very good information to share with you, so that you don't have these same kind of problems, or so that you can work it out a lot easier in how the ease is all working. Let's see. Gail says, I have a Sew House 7 tea dress for about 4 years and have not touched it. I bought mine a couple of years ago and keep wanting to make it. But my holdup is that the tie on it is at the natural waist, and I hate stuff at my natural waist. And so I'm going to trace it off, and I just usually don't want to trace off patterns. I usually just want to cut them out and then use them. So, but that one costs too much money, so I'm not doing that. Let's see. Trail farmers, notice that with fabric. So frustrating when you have a vibrant color pattern you are going for. I would agree. That is one reason why I buy fabric first. So that brings us to another point. When you are finding your style and when you are developing your style with your sewing, I find that it's a lot easier to find fabric that you really like and buy it when you find it. Now, people will disagree with me on this and say you shouldn't buy it unless you have a plan for it. And that's how you get a big old fabric stash. And I don't care because when I find a fabric that inspires me and speaks to me, I'm going to buy it because odds are by the time I find a pattern to go with that fabric, I'm not going to be able to get the fabric anymore. So why miss out on that opportunity? I will have the fabric and one day I'll find the right pattern for that specific fabric. So that's kind of the way we were taught in college. Jen reminded me of this, or is that you start with the fabric as the inspiration and then you work out the pattern. Now, when you're designing, obviously it's a lot easier because you're the one who's designing the pattern and you're the one who's coming up with the design. But we always started with the fabric as the inspiration or like an idea of the fabric. And then once you find the fabric, you tailor your design to go with the fabric. So that's my philosophy because I think finding fabric to fit a specific pattern is very, very difficult, especially nowadays when the pattern envelopes don't list out the fabric types that work best for that design. If you have any vintage patterns from like the 90s or back, they listed out like 5 or 6 different fabrics that would work well for the design. And in a lot of those cases, the fabric you used would slightly change the look of the design, which kind of segues into my next point of you can make the same design in different fabrics and get totally different looks based on the weight and the hand and the texture of your fabric. So those are all other elements to consider. In the Butterick book, they just kind of called it generally texture. But I would also say that the weight of the fabric is going to play a role, and then also the hand of the fabric. So if you're not familiar, hand is the way that a fabric is going to drape. And it's easy to just like, I've got this is a K facet rayon, and you can see that it's really, really soft. Now, the quilting cotton version of this fabric, so this is K facet, and he does a lot of design for quilting fabrics, and they come in a whole different palettes and stuff. So I was really excited when I found this at Leo 9. This is actually a rayon, and that's why I bought it. I'm going to be using this for my kimono when I take that class. And it has a lot softer hand than something else that would be stiff, like quilting cotton. So even if you have that same fabric and the same print, depending on which fabric you use, is going to give you a different look. Hand, think of it this way. It's also like the softness of a fabric or the crispness of a fabric. So I like to use African waxed cotton, and I do have some over here. And it's kind of beastly to sew sometimes because it is so stiff. So if you are not familiar, this is actual fabric that has wax pressed into it. So you can see this is like a gorgeous print. I bought like a whole roll of this. I bought the whole bolt, but it's very, very stiff. So let me just roll it out a little bit so you can see this. It's very stiff. You've got very distinctive pleats in it. It's not soft like the rayon is. And it's going to make the same pattern look very, very different. Now, I've made a couple. There's a pattern I like. It's McCall's dress pattern. It's like a knee-length dress. It has super easy sleeves. It's got, I don't even know if it has bust darts. It's a very easy pattern. It's like a pull over your head kind of dress. And I've made it in lawn, and it's actually the dress that is in the thumbnail for this live stream. And it's super soft. It's super lightweight. It's gorgeous. Well, I made it again in a Japanese cotton sateen, which is definitely stiffer. And even though it's the same pattern, it has a different structure. It is a stiffer dress, which is totally fine because I wear it in the fall. I wear it with a sweater. It has a completely different look than the super soft lawn version, which is my summer lightweight dress. So that's another way that you can change your design. And like if you fall in love with a pattern and you want to make it multiple times, you can keep changing the look of that pattern just by your fabric choice. Another factor in texture is going to be like, what does the fabric actually feel like? Is it sateen? So that's cotton that has a satin weave. It's going to be softer. It's going to be a little bit shinier, as opposed to like a tweed, which is going to be stiffer. It's going to be more of a suiting kind of look. It's just going to be a completely different vibe. And that's another easy way that you can mix up your wardrobe with patterns that you like once you kind of get the fit worked out and all that kind of thing. So that's just another element of design that you can take into account when you are figuring out your style and figuring out what you want to wear and what patterns you want to use, and then the fabric that you want to make them with. And we have a bunch of, I start talking and then like I get a whole bunch of stuff coming in. Linda says, I like sheer cover to change the look of the skirt. Yes, I personally don't want to make two skirts, but that is a really pretty look when you have like an organza overlay and completely change it. Linda says, Joann's may not have put in orders because of the bankruptcy. I have heard of that. If you watch the sewing report with Jen, she has her own channel. I haven't watched the Joann's bankruptcy ones, but they keep coming up in my feed and I mean to. It's been crazy lately. But yeah, she's been talking a lot about that. Her background is that she was an investigative journalist, so she's good at finding out all those details about what's going on. Let's see, I have to adjust every pattern. I've just accepted it. Yeah. But the thing is once you get the pattern adjusted the way you want, you don't have to go find a brand new pattern. I tend to make different patterns because I think y'all would get bored watching me make the same thing over and over in different fabrics. Now, some things I really like that dress I was telling you about, that McCall's dress. It's just super comfortable and I can make it in a weekend. Like if I did a 2-hour dress video of that dress, I would get it done in 2 hours. It's that simple. But it's not exciting. I mean, I try and sew things that are more interesting, which is why I have a wide variety. But there is definite merit in working out the fit of a specific pattern to your body and then being like, this is a great dress, or this is a great shirt, or this is a great skirt. And I'm going to make it in different fabrics for different times of the year. That'll give me different looks, but I know that it's going to fit because I already did the hard work of figuring it out. So let's see. Judith says, I agree. When I buy a pattern and look for fabric, I can never find what I want. You can't. It's like the universe is against you. I don't know what happens. That's why I say buy the fabric first every time. And yeah, okay, if you have a stash, just keep it organized. So then that way you can go, when you find a pattern, like, wait, I think I have fabric that would go with this pattern. You've got it. It's ready to go. And then you're going to be so happy. Let's see. Diane says in the 70s, high school teacher taught us that Vogue was made for twiggy shaped girls. Simplicity was for normal shaped girls and Butterick was for the fluffy shaped girls. That is hysterical. Thank you for sharing that, Diane, because my friend who is, she's in her 60s, so she's 10 years older. She said that simplicity was always the easiest to sew. That's why it was called simplicity, and had the fewest pattern pieces. So that's what her teachers taught her. It was like, sew simplicity because you'll be able to sew them. Like they're the easiest to sew. So that is very good to know. And that would also explain why the block on Butterick is a little bit bigger and why it always has too much ease for me. So let's see, interested learner. I buy the fabric first and wait to find what will go well with it. Exactly. Quilting cotton works well with the dresses I like to make. Quilting cotton is great for a lot of stuff. And if you buy the more expensive quilting cotton, like the K Facet or Tula Pink, or, they come with like great prints and colors, and you can mix and match prints very, very easily. Hang on a sec. Let me go grab this. I meant to put it over here and then I did not. So I start again now that I'm sitting here. Quilting cottons are a really great way to mix prints. I like spending the money on like the slightly more expensive ones that are the better quality ones than like the 4.99 ones you can find at Joann's. And then we won't even speak of Walmart fabric because I think that quality of cotton is very poor and it's very linty. It's going to lint up your machine, but then it's also going to probably fall apart because it's not a super tight weave. So I bought some fabric. I love K Facet. If you have not seen his prints, they're very colorful, they're very botanical. So I found this. This is quilting cotton. I think this was like $15 a yard. I got it at Leo 9. This is, I love this. I just thought it was fun. It's so just geometric. I loved it. And then I was like, I think this would look great with this. And it matches because it's all Kaffe. So it's the same collection, it's the same palette, but that's an easy way to mix prints and know that your colors all work. Now, I have not always been a big fan of mixing prints because I find that sometimes it's done in a way that is so shocking that it just doesn't work. But one thing that I've found over the years is that if you keep the color palette the same, you can mix as many prints as you want. Now, it may make people who look at you a little bit seasick, but you know, that's on them. It's you're the designer and you're making what you want. But I have found that if you use those quilting cottons, they usually have companion pieces in the same color palettes. And then that's a really easy way for you to do the funky print mixing like I like and keep it all in the same palette so it doesn't totally, you know, kill the people who you walk around in front of in your fabulous, you know, self-expression and your, you know, costume. Let's see. Susan said, beautiful fabric. Thank you. Is that why the company's name Butterick? How insulting. That's really funny. I did not think of that. Okay, let's see. I like your teacher's explanation of the best use of the patterns according to our shape and match it to the pattern company. Have you found it to be true? I have. I don't think that Vogue nowadays is for Twiggy. Just because I have found that Vogue varies more between the designers. I found that the Vogue patterns made by Vogue tend to be more standardized to whatever it says. Now, some of the Vogue patterns have a lot more ease, and usually you can see that in the picture on the envelope. Like, oh, this is a voluminous top, or this is a voluminous dress. You can see the ease in it. If things are a little bit more fitted, they tend to actually fit the way that they're supposed to. So I have found that with Vogue. Butterick for me definitely runs the largest. If I make the same measurements, like my pattern measurements are the same for simplicity and they're the same for Butterick, the Butterick version of whatever I make is going to be bigger. So I think that is still the case. I'm hoping it is not the case with my wedding dress, although I am making a size 14. So we'll see how it fits. And I will report back and let you know. Let's see. Judith says, I have a hard time buying fabric online because I don't know the hand. I know. And that's the thing that really upsets me about all of these fabric stores going online is you can't touch the fabric. And I am a big advocate of touching fabric to be able to feel the hand, feel the weight, and feel the quality. Because if somebody tells me the thread count, okay, in my head, I know 200 thread count is kind of average, 400 is better, 600 is tighter. First of all, they don't usually give you that information, okay? Second, the quality of the yarn that weaves the fabric makes a huge difference. Like I was talking about earlier with the quilting cotton. Quilting cotton is a huge broad range of fabric. And it's technically all broadcloth for the most part. Just if you're wondering for the official name of it, the official name is broadcloth. Sometimes it is percale, which is also like makes sheets. So it's just a plain weave fabric. We'll just go with broadcloth, but they call it quilting cotton. It's a wide range of quality. And I have bought stuff from Joann's. This was back during, you know, the pandemic times when all the stores were closed. And, you know, it's the same price as something else. And it's horrible. I mean, like the dye is cheap, but you can't tell. You can't tell online because, you know, everybody's monitor is different. you can't tell. But if I touched that fabric in the store, I would have been like, I'm not buying this. This is cheap fabric. The dye is cheap. The hand of it is cheap. It feels cheap. This is not very good quality. And as opposed to a different fabric where you can be like, oh, this is a nice quality, broadcloth. It's, and usually, if it's some named designer, it's going to be a better quality normally. Alexander Henry, there's a lot of his fabric at Joann's. I tend to find that is a better quality than some no name. Free Spirit is another company. They make Cafe. They're the fabric company behind Cafe Facet. He does designs for them. They're the ones who are actually weaving the fabric. Free Spirit fabric is usually very high quality fabric. Moda is another company that makes fabric, that makes these quilting cottons, that is very good quality fabric. So if you're looking for brands, those are some to kind of keep in mind if you're in the cotton family. But it's hard. It's really, really hard to buy fabric online. And, we're getting fewer and fewer options to buy fabric. I mean, here in Houston, High Fashion Fabric's closed. It is gone. That means that there is one real fabric store left, and Universal Fabrics, which is in Rice Village. It's like the closest thing to a New York fabric store that I've found outside of New York. And the prices are outrageous, like outrageous. I found a really nice polyester jersey knit that was like $87 a yard. I mean, outrageous. That's outrageous for polyester. It is not silk. It is not fancy. And I was like, wandered around the stores like, yeah, I guess I'm not going to buy anything here. High Fashion at least had price ranges, and I bought a lot of fabric, and that will be coming out in a haul beginning of next month, to kind of show you what I bought and what my thoughts were behind buying that kind of fabric. But yeah, no, it's just upsetting because we don't have we're running out of options. And it's like all the stores like Joann's and, are all carrying mostly quilting cotton of varying degrees. And then if you go to independently owned stores, they're mostly quilting stores geared towards quilters. So that's also the only fabric that they have, which, is just hard for those of us who want to sew apparel and make our own costumes. So yeah, I feel you. Let's see, Dory just joined us. Had an old book, Nancy Zeman explained the differences in the fit in the different pattern companies. If you find that book, Dory, let me know. I'd like to see if I could find it and just be able to share that information. Or if you want to email it to me, I will share the information in the next live stream. Nancy says, the last name of the man who started Butterick Patterns was Butterick. Okay, mystery solved. Thank you, Nancy. Let's see. Dory says, she loves quilting cotton for kids' clothes. Fun to mix and match all the coordinating prints. Yeah, I really like it too. Hello, Cheryl. You and Elizabeth are watching. I'm so excited. Hi, Elizabeth. Cheryl is my cousin, and Elizabeth is my cousin Billy's little girl. So hi, Elizabeth. I'm so glad you're watching. And she wants to learn to sew. So she's going to have to take over the empire one day. So she does need to learn to sew. Let's see. Gail said, art gallery fabric is great quilting cotton. By the way it is processed, the hand is beautiful and the drape is wonderful. Used both for quilting and garment making, just depends on the design. So that's another company to check out is Art Gallery. Linda said, saw your video about the quilt shop in Fayetteville and wanted to go. I ended up finding a very friendly quilt shop on I-10 just before Mason. I'm going to go back for Halloween fabric for a skirt. Yes. The Spoiled Quilter is in Fayetteville. If you are looking for Tula fabrics, is that right? Yes. I think that's what it's called. No, Tilda fabrics. Sorry. Tilda fabrics, which are Scandinavian. It's a Scandinavian designer, Tilda. They are carrying Tilda fabrics now. So I talked to Kathy. I actually went and saw Kathy because that's out where my aunt's place is. And I was planning to go sew in the store and make a video about it because I wasn't sure when I was coming home, but then my power came on Sunday, so I did not go out and do that. But Anna ended up making a bag with Tilda fabrics, and so Kathy is carrying those at the Spoil Quilter, and I think they're on the website. I'm not sure. I will find out. But that's another beautiful. I mean, like, I'm going to make a jacket out of them. Anna's actually going to go pick the fabric for me next week when she goes back out there, and I'll have that for the International Quilt Festival. And so that'll be fun. But yeah, I really appreciate a really good quality, just basic cotton. And because cotton is great in Texas, you know, it's hot here all the time. Even in the fall, you make a nice cotton jacket, like you'll be able to wear it into November, like no problem. Linda said she just discovered Pattern Ease fabric to copy pattern pieces. Oh, that's good. I'm using a it's Pellon. I don't know. I got it at Leo 9 and they just said it's just Pellon, you know, it's got little red dots every inch and it's easy to work with. So Susan says, even when looking for ready to wear clothing, the first thing I do is feel the fabric, then I'll look at the style. I agree 100% because something may look okay. And then once you touch it, you're like, no. Polyester crepe comes to mind. There was a season in the 90s when polyester crepe was like super popular, like that real sheer. And then you'd wear like, you know, a tank under it and you wear like this really sheer top. Oh my gosh, that fabric feels horrible. Like it's just awful. So yes, for sure. Quality of the material is a big deal across the fashion industry. T-shirts from Walmart always get a hole right away. Yes. You know, it's kind of like Walmart, then it's Target, and then you keep moving up. You know, most of mine are all Banana Republic and I've had them for years and they all have lasted multiple washes. Like most of my shirts that I wear to court are Banana Republic and I bought them at the outlet years ago and they've just held up. Great quality fabric. I don't know if that's still the case because I have heard that overall, just due to increases in, you know, costs and transport and all that kind of stuff, allegedly, the quality of clothing has gone down across the board and that, you know, things aren't lasting as long as they used to, even from the same companies you used to buy them. So I have not bought any Banana Republic t-shirts post-pandemic, so I don't know if they're still of the same quality, but the ones I have definitely were. So Linda says, are most of the designer names on the selvage or the bolt? Yes. So Cafe, if you look at the selvage, it says Cafe Facet Collective. You know, Tilda says Tilda, Tula Pink says Tula Pink. They may also say the company that made the fabric. So if it's like Free Spirit for Tula Pink, you know, and then once you know the company names, that's better quality. So I have been to Fabric Utopia here in Houston. I find it very difficult to go and find something specific just because of the way the store is laid out. It is rolls of fabric kind of like in these displays and you have to like pull things out and see what you can find. I have not been there post pandemic, so I'm not sure what they have now, but before, it's actually not very far from my house. I would go there to look for fabrics for costumes when I was doing night court, and we had it was Law of the Jungle, so that was before the pandemic, and that was 2019, and I did find some really pretty. It's just like a polyester crepe, like what I was just talking about, although this one was not scratchy, to make a costume with. And that's what I kind of used it for. I kind of looked at their stuff and was just like, they had a lot of denim. So if I need some denim, I might go check it out. But it was very hit or miss as far as fabric went, in my opinion. So I haven't been back. Arizona, too hot for cotton or linen in the summer. I agree. It's just too hot. I mean, at least y'all have a dry heat. Think of it that way. Here in Houston, it's the sticky heat, so you need to have clothes that breathe. It's another reason why I like kind of loose fitting clothing. The air can circulate around your body a little bit easier. And, you know, it's one of those things that just, it makes all the difference. I am a huge proponent of natural fibers because they're more comfortable to wear. Let's see, Tracy just popped in. Hey, Tracy, thanks for joining from Ohio. I'm sure you're having gorgeous summer weather up there. my sister went to Ohio State and I lived with her in Columbus for a year. And it was just like the best summers ever. Winter I did not like, too much snow, but summer was fantastic. And the falls were beautiful too. So getting back to the topic, because we have, you know, we're an almost an hour and a half. So I'm glad y'all are all enjoying this and getting involved. Tracy, I'm in Houston, Texas. So we just came out of the hurricane nonsense and no power for the last week, where it's humid today, but at least the sun is shining and there's no rain forecast. So everybody's thankful for that. We did talk about prints and using prints and design. And one thing I would say is that when you're using stripes or you're using some kind of a design element in the fabric, the way to make it look good, especially with stripes, is that you match up the stripe to the notches on the pattern pieces. So as long as you get the same stripe lined up on all the notches so that it goes around your body, it'll work. Grandma taught me that ages ago, and I've stuck with it. You can do that with any kind of a design element. So if it's like a directional repeatable print, as long as you get everything lined up with those notches, then when you put it all together, it's gonna look good all the way around the dress or the jacket or whatever you're making. So just something to keep in mind that will help you when you are using print as an element of design. And then the Butterick book ends with use common sense. So totally agree with that. It's very much what works for you and what you're comfortable in, because that's, I think, the beauty of being able to sew your own clothing and make your own costumes for the different aspects of your life, is that you can express your style differently in different areas. And so obviously my lawyer costume is going to be very different from my, going out to dinner with my friends or dinner party costumes. But it's one of those things where you have that ability to do that because you know how to sew. And so choosing the right patterns that fit you, and yes, there is that learning curve of figuring out which patterns work the best for you, how much ease they have. We've discussed how different companies have different amounts of ease, and you have to figure all that out, which is a bit of a challenge sometimes. I mean, I'm speaking from experience with that whole Jiffy dress situation from a couple of weeks ago. And it's one of those things where it's worth taking the time to find what works for you so that you can create this wardrobe of elements and styles that you absolutely love and that you feel super confident in and super happy. And now, if you're just starting out or you're just getting back into sewing and you're like, Tony, my skills are not up to that, keep it simple. There are a lot of learn to sew patterns out there that are very basic styles. I mean, I have some of them. I'm going to be sewing some of them because I like to sew things and get them done quickly. I do not want a super, Vogue pattern that's got like 25 different pattern pieces to it. Like, no, thank you. I would like my, 2 pattern pieces. Let's pop in an elastic waistband, finish that hem and get it done. And you can do that too. It doesn't have to be complicated to reflect your style. And you can always use color and print and combining the two to really make it your own and have something that's unique to you. So, that's what I hope for you. And, and then you can factor in all the other fun stuff, the accessories, like, what purse are you going to use? What shoes are you going to use? How are you going to accessorize it with jewelry? Do you have scarves that you like to wear? Like I do. And then, bump it up to a whole nother level. Now, one thing I want to say is developing your style and fashion, because the way I look at it is that style is what's personal to you and fashion is what somebody else tells you should be wearing because they have arbitrarily decided this is what the look is for this season. And so I'm not a huge fan of that because, number one, fast fashion is filling up landfills faster than ever before. Like in the history of clothing, the last 10 years have put more clothes into landfills because of this whole fast fashion movement. And I'm not a fan of that. I think you should make things that speak to you. I think you should buy things that speak to you. And sometimes for me, that is fast fashion. I do shop at Zara when I'm in Spain. I do shop at Mango. I do shop at Desigual. Um, there, I will buy classic pieces that I love that I will wear for years to come. They will not end up in a landfill. But too often it's just easy to just say like, oh, this is this, the cold shoulder sleeve is in, or the up down hem, short in the front, long in the back. It's like a mullet skirt. Um, you know, that's in style. So I'm going to get that. And then it's going to be out of style next week. So I'm just going to throw it away. And not fixing the clothes that you have when when you rip out a hem or when you lose a button, like just throwing it in the trash. And this is a younger demographic kind of issue. I have a friend who is an older millennial, and she's the one who was telling me, like, oh, yeah, most of my friends just throw things away. I go, well, what's wrong with it? Well, the hem ripped out. Well, you can fix that. I mean, you don't even need to sew to fix that. You can go get some hem tape and just iron it in and fix it. So I kind of was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize this was a thing, because I've never thrown away clothes in my life unless they were literally falling apart. If they're falling apart, they go in the trash. If there's something I just bought that I don't like or I never wore, it gets donated. So, that's the other thing. It's like lots of people can't afford to go shopping, and they go to Goodwill and they go to Salvation Army because that's what they need, clothes. And so anything I donate is going to be very good quality that, maybe I wore once, it didn't fit right, or, whatever, but I digress. So one story I wanted to share with you guys, that this is one of those stories like that grandma told Anna. And it's like, I've never heard this story before. And grandma's full of these. And, it's like, she's 99. And I'm like, how many more stories are in your head, grandma, that we don't know because this situation didn't present itself? So let me set the stage for you. Anna was going to lunch with a friend. She came down. Anna's living with grandma right now. She came downstairs. She was wearing a black knit top with a white denim skirt. And grandma looked at Anna and said, before Jackie Kennedy, nobody wore black shirts. And Anna was like, what? Because this is something that's so common with us now. Like, I mean, the thought of a black top with a white bottom, like that's very summery. That's what a lot of people wear. Like you see that all the time. Jackie Kennedy was the first woman to ever wear a black shirt with white pants. It was on the news. It made the headlines because nobody had ever seen this before. They did not make women's blouses in black. And grandma, being the trendsetter and fashion forward woman that she is and was at the time, took a white shirt and a pink shirt and dyed them black. So then she would also be in fashion, just like Jackie. And she told Anna that story. And I was just like, that is fantastic. I have to share that with all of you today, because I'd never heard of that. I didn't realize that Jackie Kennedy was the first person to do this, first woman to do this. And it makes sense because she had like incredible style. And a lot of that was Oleg Cassini, who, designed for her primarily during her White House years. But I mean, that's just fantastic. And like, that's a little piece of grandma's history that I want to share with you today. Just as we wrap up the whole discussion of finding your style and personal style. And, sometimes it's okay to do the trends when it's something like that. And I have to give grandma props for having the ingenuity to be like, I've got a white top and a black top, and I'm a white top and a pink top, and I'm going to go make them black. So then I can be just as stylish as the first lady, which is very cool. So let's get back to some comments. Yes, Tracy, I'm a lawyer. I started out in fashion design at University of Texas, Austin, and wanted to be a fashion designer, and that didn't pan out. And so I went to grad school for a year. That didn't pan out to get many jobs. Was really scared to go to New York, and my friends had already gone, and I don't know, I was just scared. And so I came back to Houston, and I worked at the ballet doing costuming for about 6 weeks. And then my aunt was like, okay, I've signed you up for an LSAT class. You need to go to law school. And I was like, law school was always plan B. So it got to the point that plan B needed to happen. And my aunt's a lawyer. So that kind of kickstarted that whole thing. Brenda says, what about McCall's patterns? They seem to be pretty fitting. Yeah, McCall's and Simplicity both fit me very well. I think that their blocks are very similar. I never have tend to have fit issues with them, you know. Let's see. Carol Farmers, I have a whole bolt of Waverly fabric I bought on clearance at Walmart, and the last time they were getting rid of their sewing section. Don't know what to do with it if it's really bad. So Waverly, back in the day, was very good quality fabric. I have found that the Waverly that they sell at Walmart is not great. It might not be 100% cotton. It might be a cotton poly blend. I only know that because I was buying fabric there to make masks with back in the day, because Anna worked at a hospital and she still had to go to work. And so anyway, that it linted up my machine. Like every time I'd sew like 2 or 3 masks and then I have to clean out under the needle and the bobbin area because it was all full of lint. Not saying that yours isn't okay, but I personally would recommend stay away from the fabric at Walmart. In my experience, it is a lower quality and it's not cheap enough to just use for testing out things. I wouldn't make clothes with it. I mean, if you want to make a mock-up with it, okay, but just keep in mind it's probably not going to last super long. Let's see. Linda says, did you ever think about fashion law? Elle Woods, haha. Yeah, Elle Woods. The number of times I watched Legally Blonde when I was in law school, because it came out right when I was in law school or right before I was in law school. I actually do have like the Elle Woods Barbie. Yeah, it's not really a thing. It's copyright law, which is my passion. I love copyright law. I get all my legal education in copyright and patent and tech law because that all relates to everything I do here. But no, as far as jobs in Houston go, that would be another. You have to move to New York and work at a big firm, and I like it here better. Let's see. Gail's saying our Women's Day at church is in September. I'm going to change my mindset and treat it as an elegant costume, not just a church dress. Yes, for sure. I wish that, in the UK, they have this thing called the Dressmakers Ball, and it's a bunch of UK YouTubers, and they get together at this fancy hotel. I'm not sure where it is, and invite all their viewers to make dresses, and you go to the dressmaker ball. And I just think that sounds like so much fun. I do that on a mini level with me and Jen, because we'll make things because we're going to have dinner together. And that's always a lot of fun. So I'm all for that. Like, make it a costume, make it a fancy dress, and I think we need more of that in our lives. I think that, things are getting so casual that it's kind of fun to get dressed up every once in a while, I mean, and I'm not talking about like, garter belts and stockings and panty girdles and all of that kind of stuff, because that's really not comfortable. And I think with Spanx and things like that, we can avoid all those. But it's one of those things where I like getting dressed up, and if Dan and I go out to dinner, like his daughter's coming into town next weekend, and I'm like, should I make a dress? Do I have time? To just wear something new and get dressed up and go out and have fun and do that. So I'm a huge proponent of getting dressed up for any kind of event. And now that we're having more events, now that, the pandemic days are behind us for the most part, and people are socializing and getting together, and there are events, I think you should for sure like treat it as an occasion to get dressed up and, wear your fancy shoes and get out your nice handbags and put on some fancy jewelry. Yeah, mullet skirt. Yes, that's the best way. Fast fashion, huge problem. I agree. I talked about it. Y'all know how I feel about it. Marilyn, hello, Marilyn. Thank you for joining us. Brenda says, way too casual holes in clothes, leggings, wearing PJs to Walmart is crazy. Wearing PJs to court is even crazier. I mean, come on. I was just like, this may upset some people. I'm going to say it anyway. I do not think you should wear pajamas in public. They are pajamas. They are to be kept at home. People who go grocery shopping in pajamas, or people who think it's okay to go, to court in pajamas, it is not okay. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not okay. You need to go put on clothes. You need to put on clothes that are meant to be seen in the light of day, not clothes that you're going to hang out at your house in. If you're going to Netflix and chill in some pajamas, cool, no problem, more power to you. But if you're leaving the house, put on some pants or, throw on a dress if you don't want to really have to think about things, but just get some real clothes on. So that is my rant. That is how I feel. Acapulco. Lee knows. Lee is in municipal court every day with me. She knows about the pajama problem. And I'm just like, it's court. Like, it's court. I don't understand. I mean, if you don't want to get dressed up, that's fine. T-shirt and jeans is fine if you're a defendant and it's just, it's fine. But I appreciate it when my clients put on a suit or put on a pair of slacks and a blazer and make that effort to look nice coming to court. I tell them that. Like, thank you for dressing up. And when somebody looks really, really nice, like I've had a couple of lady clients who really have put an effort into their outfits with accessories and everything, and like their hair's done and they look really nice. I always say thank you for dressing up for court, because I appreciate it, the judges appreciate it. Give the court the seriousness it's due. Susan says PJs are for home. Agree, yes. And Lee is still saying it's bizarre. Yes, we see a lot of crazy stuff in court, and it's just wrong. So hello, Sylvia. Thank you for joining us. We're at an hour and 41 minutes. I appreciate all of you for being here today. I hope you have enjoyed this discussion of style and, figuring out your personal style, giving you a few tips. We will ignore that Bishop book about dressing for a man and wearing high heels when you go sightseeing in New York City, because that's just crazy. And there's no reason to do that. I will say, though, that when I get on a plane, I'm dressed up. In that, I have certain dresses that I call travel dresses. And if you go back to, when was that, last year? My very first 2-hour dress video is a knit dress. That is one of my travel dresses. And I will wear that with my really cute white sneakers that are all like clean and bright and white, with a cardigan and like a scarf, and like be totally accessorized with my bag and everything. And that's what I would wear on the plane. So it's super comfortable because it's a really soft knit, but I look really nice. And Anna would be dressed similarly in a long knit maxi dress with, scarf. And we have a certain style when we travel. And you know what? You get better service when you look nice and you take the time to get dressed up, and you can still be comfortable and look good and, not wear pajamas. So that's what I'm going to say. Dee Dee says, thank you. Pajamas in public is not okay. Pajama days in schools is not helping. I didn't realize they still did that. We did that once at my high school overseas, and it was just kind of funny. But everybody wore like fancy pajamas. Like, it wasn't like, gross, dirty things with holes. So, and that's how like people have shown up. Okay, let's see. Dory says, I'm so with you on the pajama thing. When people dressed up to fly on a plane, now they wear less than pajamas. Anna and I play a game. I'm going to share this with y'all, since, there's only 38 of you on here, and I won't get crucified for this. And her friend actually came up with it. And it's like, you might be a schlumpadinka if. And so we like to play this game where you might be a schlumpadinka if you wear pajama pants on a plane, or you might be a schlumpadinka if you're wearing slippers instead of actual shoes at the airport. So anyway, that's a little game we like to play when we travel, because it's really outrageous what people wear. Some people wear like those little pajama shorts, which is even worse, because it's like, do you have anything on under there? Like, that's just gross. Like, really. So, okay, let's see. Dory, that was Dory. I dress up on the plane. Brenda, we love you. You're awesome. Have a great week. Thank you, Brenda. I love you guys too. Shirley said, I once saw a mom and her son, the one facing the judge in court, to represent her son well. She wore her best Mickey Mouse shirt. It was embroidered. Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on adults wearing Mickey Mouse. But I'm there with you, Shirley. Like, it's a sad state of affairs. It really is. Nancy, thank you for showing up. It was great to see you. Dee Dee, hope to meet you in August. Yes. Message me. Okay. If you are going to be at the Sewing Expo, hit me up with an email, hello@SoSoLounge, or you can send me a message on Instagram Messenger. That's the best way to get in touch with me, and we will coordinate. So I would love to meet up with you. There are all kinds of fun places to go eat or grab a cocktail or a coffee in that whole area. So it'll be super fun. Feral Farm Girl said, YouTube keeps deleting your comment. No, send it to me by email because, I want to see it. I'm guessing that's a Q lot, Nancy. Mikey, hello, Mikey. I'm glad you joined us from the Netherlands. Frocktails is a thing in the States. I know. Maybe I need to have one in Houston. Maybe I need to host a Frocktails here in Houston because nobody else has, and there are enough of you in the area that maybe you would come. So we'll talk about that in August. Judith, I'm so glad you had fun. Nancy said you wore cute. There we go. Ellie and Mac knit Monday morning dress. Fantastic. I'm not deleting your comments, so I don't know what's up with YouTube. Just email them to me. Susan, love the chat. Thank you. You're welcome. Maria, thank you for joining us. I think that is everybody. So I'm going to wrap it up because it is getting close to lunchtime and I have been talking solid. Dr. Blonde Girl, thank you for joining. And I will be back in August. Let me check the date. The date in August will be, this is part of the whole planner system here. August 17th, we're going to be talking about getting organized in your sewing, organized in your space. It is going to be super fun. So bring any tips you have because, I like to hear what your ideas are. I've picked up some fantastic sewing tips in comments from various YouTube videos. Diane, thank you for joining us. And I will see everybody back in August on the 20th for our next live stream, or I will see you in Dallas at the Sewing Expo. So let me know if you're going to be there. Can't wait to see you. Have a fabulous rest of your weekend. And Jolita, see you next time. And Erlene, thank you for joining from California. I'll see y'all next month.